What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack DeMeo. I am the Comics Partnerships Manager for Whatnot, and we have an exciting panel today for the Skybound Halloween Expo. I've got with me some of the most amazing members of the sneaker community who all have one thing in common. They are fans of comic books just like you and me. And today we have an exciting panel brought to you by Whatnot, where there are auctions daily 24/7 starting at just $1. So download the Whatnot app today. Now I'm going to introduce our amazing panel of guests, starting with the YouTuber Chris Chase from the amazing channel Wear Testers. Hello, Chris.
How's it going?
And then we've got his partner in crime, also from the Wear Testers YouTube channel, Jody Chase. How are you doing today, Jody?
I'm doing good. A little nervous, but I'm glad to be here.
Hey, me too. But we're going to rock through it. We are coming up next with one of my favorite Twitter follows, Tamika Moultrie. How are you doing today?
What is going on? Is Red Infamy in the building? Everybody know me mostly as Red Infamy, but my government's okay to use too.
There you go. And a guy who I actually have some mutual friends right in here in South Carolina, professional skater, sneakerhead, manager of the awesome skateboard shop, Blue Tile Skate Shop, Irving Juarez. How you doing today, my man?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Good to meet you too. Now, we are all here because we all have one thing in common, right? We are sneakerheads. Now, no matter what type of sneakerhead you are, we have all heard that term. And I would like to ask the entire panel, when you hear that, what does that mean to you and how do you feel about the term sneakerhead? We'll start off with Jody.
Oh,
Put you on the spot there.
Right? You did. I feel like I'm not the typical sneakerhead because I've been brought into it through my husband, Chris, who is definitely a sneakerhead. Everything I've learned is through him, and a lot of it is kind of just like it was going on in the background, and my brain like sucked it up, not even realizing it. But I definitely do enjoy some good looking shoes as long as they're comfortable, which is something we definitely like go back and forth on what's really comfortable and what's not. So yeah, definitely not the traditional sneakerhead right here.
So that's interesting. So, Chris, what would you say the traditional sneakerhead is?
Honestly, nowadays, like there really isn't one. You can kind of like look at any form of media and you'll find a different type of shoe head. So some of them are flippers, or what people call scalpers or resellers. There's people like me that are kind of like a hybrid of like we're into the history and the nostalgia, but we're also into the performance aspect of things. So like that's how I got into shoes in the first place, was just through basketball. And then there's other people that are just casual fans. They just happen to like fashion, and shoes are really popular right now. So that's part of your fit. And it's almost like the most important staple piece right now in like today's modern kind of culture. And so like that's where kind of like those three versions of sneakerheads are. I don't think that there's really any one that is, above the other. We're just all kind of different. That's kind of the cool part about, being part of the community and stuff, is that you get to meet like-minded individuals, but the way that you got here is like from a totally separate road. So it's pretty cool.
I think my comic fans out there watching live can really relate to that. Certainly a ton of different comic book collectors, from the flippers to the readers to the collectors, the variant people, the people that just want cover A, roll it up, put it in your back pocket. There are all kinds. Irving, now I would ask that kind of same question about being a sneakerhead to you. Would you say, as a skater and somebody who has to use more form and function, do you consider yourself a sneakerhead?
I think I kind of fought that label for a long time because I saw in skateboarding there's certain people who are more worried about their outfit than they are about like actually going out there and skating. And I did not want to be associated with that. But working at Blue Tile and with the rise and fall and rise again of the Nike SB, I'm just like I had no choice. I had to become a sneakerhead. Like these shoes are like infectious. And I've been lucky enough to like get my hands on a couple pairs, and just like walking to the store and some beat up dunks, and like everybody on the way there is like, yo, you skated those, or yo, how'd you get those? It just like, kind of boosts your ego a little bit. And I just immediately, I was like, yeah, I'm a sneakerhead.
And I saw that live at Baltimore Comic-Con this weekend. That's the same thing. Someone pulling out that slab 9.8 copy, and everybody's just wondering, whoa, where did you get that? So, to build on what you also just said, Tamika, we saw a lot with The Last Dance. I think that certainly brought a lot of new fans and a lot of attention back to the sneaker game. I curious what your thoughts are on kind of that moment in time, as well as to Irving's point about sneaker drops. What are your experience these days with success and then the different tools out there for sneaker drops?
Yeah, just to encapsulate all of that. With The Last Dance, it brought back so many memories, and it jogged a lot of people's memories to get back into sneakers. So it's made my life a lot difficult, okay, to obtain something, especially like during the whole pandemic period. It's like, wow, people got more information on sneakers or fell back into, okay, I used to love sneakers. Why did I fall out of it? I guess from working and everything and having nowhere to go. But now it's like, okay, you didn't have nowhere to go, but you just wanted to stack up your collection. Of people who wanted to get more money because they were low on money and wanted to flip. So it's been really difficult. The sneakers app is like this for me right now. But I loved how recently with the whole 50, the off-white 50, a lot of people was out. I was so surprised that I was able to get a pair of some off-white dunks, because dunks, I remember when no one was talking about dunks. Dunks has always been like, I love dunks. I'm either an Air Max type of girl or dunks and then J's. But I was like, it's been really difficult to get anything. You really have to be on it. I come from the gaming and tech side as well. So like PS5s are scarce. So it's like now different communities are seeing how things are even in the sneaker community. We've been going through this for a long time, even before the pandemic. So it's been interesting since The Last Dance that a lot of people's like, okay, I want to get these J's. I want to get this again. So it's been interesting, but it's been kind of sad for me in these streets.
That's yeah, and it definitely renewed interest for sure, I think. Now I would say another difference is kind of like that difference. Are you a collector, or is it about form and function? Is it about comfort and fit? I would ask our kind of resident wear testers, Jody and Chris, what are your thoughts when you're picking out a shoe? How do you weigh the difference between style and comfort?
I definitely want something that is cute, but if it's not comfortable, I'm not going to wear it again. So those are my two big things. I'd rather have something comfortable and simple with a little splash of something. Like, again, it's like a whole outfit thing, like y'all are talking about. So I definitely don't want to look like lame or something out there. But I mean, I'm also a mom and we run a business. So if I'm not comfortable and it's not functionable, it's just not even worth my time.
Yeah, I come from the era of one shoe per year. So it was, you know what I mean? Like it was like you had to not only pick the one shoe, it had to be the shoe and under budget because I had like $40 to work with back in the day with mom. And so it was difficult to find something that looked good, that was also functional. And so typically with that type of budget, you just kind of got what was on clearance. Today, it's a little bit different. I have money. I can afford a couple of nice things. And so, what I end up doing is buying what I didn't have, like all of them things that I circled in East Bay. I got all of that shit now. So like, you know what I mean? So those are the things where like I am like reliving those things. I do enjoy the testing aspect, whether it's casually or on court, where I can be like, hey, I have not just worn casually, but also play basketball in every single Air Jordan from 1 through 36. And so like that to me was like a unwritten like bucket list item is like, I want to do all of this stuff. So what I do now is I just kind of like have a shoe that I wear the hell out of. And that's just, I guess, the old man in me. Like there's some things that like you like kind of transition into unintentionally, that being one of them, and all that stuff. So I have all these shoes, some of them mad comfortable, some of them not. They're all pretty though. And so like, you know what I mean? Like you can't just pick one, but yeah, it just really depends on like how old you are. Like if you're a kid, you don't really have that option to like be super choosy unless you're, got mom and dad on your side, or you have a hustle or something like that. So, but yeah, I think right now I'm wearing some ones. So that's pretty much what I wear all the time.
I think no matter what kind of form of collecting we're talking about, buying back your childhood is a major part of that nostalgia factor that drives us in commerce. And I'll ask you, the entire panel, about FOMO. When you miss out on one of these drops, Tamika mentioned the sneakers app and kind of the difficulty that a lot of people have when catching new releases. Do you ever chase after the fact and go to other avenues to try to make these purchases? Or are you patient and wait for that re-release?
I'll
little
chime
both.
in. Yeah, it's a little both, for sure. It depends. Like, it's like I even try to see even if I'm able to get it before the drop, because sometimes the prices is like met at a really good resale. So it's like, do I just bite the bullet and just make sure I get it, or do I wait until it release, try to see if I'm able to get in line, which is a hassle already, because once it drop, it's gonna go sky high, and it's like I'm not trying to chase the resellers a lot of times. So if I'm able to have, still like back in the days, it was all about connections, having the right people, knowing the right people in different industries sometimes that can even help just to get that shoe that you really want. So just like what you mentioned with comics, sometimes you can't find that variant cover and it's like, yo, I'm trying to get this. So it's all on who you depend in different shops. So keeping relationships for sure. But yeah, I do try. And if not, then I'll just wait for a re-release.
There you go.
I would have to say a little bit about that as well. So working at a store that sells the Nike SB Dunks, it's always a mad dash to the store to try and get your pair. We have celebrities, we have basketball coaches. Everyone thinks they can just call us early and get a pair. That's not how it works. There is like such a small amount of these things that we even have to sell that like, if we get rid of one or two early, then it's going to be obvious. It's going to be like, wait a minute, this dude and that dude, how did they, so we never do the backdoor or the early release thing. However, my advice is there's a lot of national raffles that are open through like other stores like Premier, CCS, Black Sheep in North Carolina. They'll do these sort of nationwide raffles. And I'm kind of speaking on like, if you want a particular dunk, like really badly, like this is the one this year you need to just spread your options. You need to put your name down in like 15 different national raffles. You need to go to your local store and just pal it up with everybody there, because you never know, some guy might win them and you might have something that he's been looking for. And if you don't introduce yourself to him, it's just, you never have that chance. But if you go in there, become friends with everyone that's hyped on the shoes, you can maybe flip something, trade something, and really enjoy the community side of the sneakerhead community. I think that's ultimately what I've kind of taken away from it the last 4 years, is like, it's a community just like anything else,
Well, I was going to pivot to you because I'm sure there's nobody more popular around a sneaker drop time than an employee of a sneaker shop. So I'm sure people are hitting you up all the time trying to get kind of that favor. I will also throw out there another great place to pick up sneakers if you miss out on a drop is Whatnot, as we now have a sneaker category with some of the hottest buyers and sellers on there, putting some of the biggest heat. We've seen all kinds of releases, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you download the Whatnot app today. But Irving, I'm going to stay with you. Now, we talked a little bit in the beginning about the fact that you actually skateboard. So
Yeah.
I asked Jody and Chris, because they are known to talk about comfort. When you're picking a shoe for skating, where you're actually going to go out there and it's an important competition.
Yeah.
What are the factors that you're weighing with the actual shoe that you're going to wear there? How is style even a thought? Is it comfort, or is it that functionality?
So if you look good, you will perform well. So it's always style first, for sure. Recently there was these, they're called quarter snack dunks. They were like zebra striped, and they're more of an ode to the classic dunk. And so they had a thinner tongue and, well, not classic, the classic SB dunk. So it had a thinner tongue, a harder outsole, double stitching here, and I actually was able to win a pair. It's a long story of how I got that one, actually. Everyone thinks just because I work there, I get a pair. And so anytime I show up wearing some, they're like, oh, obviously you got it. I'm like, no. Turns out this kid couldn't pick it up. His mom never showed up. And then 3 days later, I was, so yeah, I am more of a, I grew up skating like Vans and Converse, and they're very thin. So like, that's always been like my go-to style of shoe. So as I'm getting more and more into the dunks, I actually kind of favor the deconstructed dunks. And it kind of works in my favor because the deconstructed dunks aren't as sought after with the sneakerhead community. So typically, as far as resale goes, I can typically find a pair of deconstructed dunks for a lot cheaper, like let's say $180 as opposed to like $500. And then there's less entries in the raffle. There's less people coming in for the deconstructed. So there's just like a slightly better chance of me getting these like deconstructed dunks. And the reason is it's like I like to feel the board on my feet. And so they might tear up quicker, and my feet might be sore at the end of the day, but for performance wise, it's definitely the way to go.
That's interesting. That wouldn't be what I would have thought, but there you go. Insights right there from a skater himself. So, now we're going to bring it kind of back to the world of comics a little bit. I would love to know from you guys, what is your relationship to comics? So many of my friends in the comic book community have recently got heavy into the sneaker game. I think there's a natural crossover there, and I'd love to hear all of you kind of like speak on that a bit. We can start with Chris.
My love for comics started well before shoes. Like that cartoons were free. So that's what I grew up on, like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, Voltron. Like my studio, this whole side is all pegboards, and it's all action figures, everything from the 80s. Like they're just all hung up, from Gargoyles to X-Men to Power Rangers. Wow. It's my shit. So like what you see back here, it's like that over there, but with toys. And so that was my like first thing that I would infatuate over. And I guess just naturally nostalgic. So I would follow when things would get re-released, like, revamps and stuff like that, like new Ninja Turtle series or whatever it might be. So I was like, oh, like there's going to be a new series and all this stuff. So I would just always stay in contact with that. Plus there's, Comic Book Wednesday and your local shops and stuff like that. So you're always in the mix. I never really grew out of that. And so, so comics were my number one thing. It's interesting to see that there are, because like back when I was a kid, you were labeled a nerd if you read comics to a certain point. Like I remember I had to run home hella fast one time from like 5th grade because I had a Power Ranger backpack and everybody was trying to jump me. And I was just like, oh, like Power Rangers is cool, man. You know what I mean? And so so it's weird seeing it now where like all these people are like, boldly wearing their graphic tees and like, cosplaying and stuff. But back in the day, like you get made fun of and all that stuff. So it's cool to see it now. And again, I never really grew out of it. So this has been a part of me. Like if anything, like the comics raised me, you know what I mean? Like with a single mom and stuff like that. Like that was like my guidance, if you will, like seeing the good guys and all of that stuff. So like those are what I connect with the most. Shoes is just something that I happen to also really be into, and nowadays they coincide with collabs and all that stuff. So it's pretty dope.
That's awesome. Jody, did you have any sort of like background kind of like growing up similarly with comic books?
Cartoons. So I definitely watched like Batman and Batman Beyond. And then, but I'm a girl, and so like eventually you kind of grow out of it, especially like in the 90s. So I didn't really read any of them. I mean, I had Archie comic books from the grocery store, but other than
That still count. That still
Yeah,
count.
I was gonna say that counts.
That still count.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always like a treat from my dad. If he went grocery shopping, he'd bring those home for us. But then I didn't really anything until I got with Chris, and way back when we used to be apartment managers, and it was very separate, like because I was the female in the relationship, I was in the office and it was just dealing with anybody who came in. Chris was out fixing everything, so I'd have all of this down like alone time. And so I was like reading everything, and finally he's like, "Here, why don't you read my like graphic novels I have sitting here?" So I sat there.
I had her read
whole
Hush.
summer.
It's like one of the best.
Awesome.
But yeah, and then becoming a mom, our oldest is a girl, and DC superhero girls became a big thing. And so that was cool because I was like, man, I would have been totally into this. This is like superhero Barbies. So, and now we have a little boy, and it's just watching him experience everything. And he's like reading now. So I guess like my experience is different because of the time that I grew up in. And being a girl and now being a mom. But yeah, like I really enjoy it. I love how it's like now gone to the main like stream and everything, and like movies. I got excited. I see Walking Dead in the background you have there.
Yeah.
I got to like I haven't watched the show. I've only seen like a portion of the first episode, and then we received the Walking Dead books, and I was going through them. They're so big, but I was just like, oh my gosh, this is scene for scene on the page of what I saw. So I'm like really excited to read those.
That's awesome. Tamika, how about you? What's your comic book history? What's your origin story there?
Origin story. I like that. Same thing with everybody, like cartoons, and like my family period are geeks. Cool geeks, you know what I'm saying? But like my grandma to my pops, my mom. But cartoons, like seeing X-Men, what drew me in even more was seeing a Black woman, and I was like, Storm. And I gravitated because, you know, during the 90s with comics, I didn't get to see anything that looked like me. So Storm, just seeing Storm, and then my dad being into manga and anime really drew me in. And that just continued. And I was like the only little girl around a whole bunch of like boy cousins. So I was down to see whatever they was into. And that's what really got me into comics and wanted to learn more about each character. The more I wanted to learn about Storm, I got to learn about other characters as well, other teams. And Marvel is like, I love Marvel. So that really gravitated towards me. And I still have even my Ultra Flare comic cards. I still have like the collection of those.
Getting hot again.
So yes. Yeah. So still trying to find some more, still trying to collect them. Just like my Pokemon cards I still have. So things from my childhood, I still live as a big kid today because I'm able to get it now, just like what Chris was saying. So that's like my origins. Like my grandmother, she's a huge Superman fan. So just having that all around me, I had no choice but to be a geek. Like it was inevitable.
There you go. Now, Irvin, how about you?
Well, I definitely grew up typical, you know, teenage kid watching like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And that led to like collecting cards. And when you're going to buy cards, you got to sift through all the comics, and definitely eventually as I got older, I started like watching more, not adult, that sounds weird, but like, you know, like more enriched content with the animated stuff, like Fully Cooley, One Punch Man and stuff of that nature. And I think all of that ties into comic books. I actually have a really specific like introduction to comics. I grew up in Mexico, moved to America when I was 6, and around when I was like 9, we moved into this trailer park. And my neighbor Sean, his dad was really into comics, and I had never really like flipped through a comic or anything like that. So I saw Superman, and I was like, "Whoa, you have Superman comics? Like let me read through them." And he was like, "Yo, you cannot flip through my Superman comics. Like, you're about to like ruin these things, you know." And I guess he could tell like how it impacted me. And the next day, he brought over a Superman comic, and he like let me have it. And to this day, I know exactly what it was. It was it's actually kind of dark. It was the Doomsday Superman release.
But a classic,
and
though.
literally Superman dies. So like I was like 9 years old, like every page, and like eventually I had flipped through it so many times that like all the staples were ripped out, and you know, it was like I put some use. Like I read that thing like every day probably, and I tell people that story, or I'm always that nerd that's like, well, you know, Doomsday can kill Superman, so Superman's not that strong, you know. And people are like, wait, Superman dies? I'm like,
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, so that was like
later,
my
right?
really, really specific intro to comics.
That's super cool. I think that's awesome that like you caught on at such an iconic moment there.
Yeah.
In comics history. We're gonna play a little game here. We're gonna go a little lightning round. So just kind of looking for that one word answer. This is the kind of thing I like to think about now. If you were dropped in the middle of the world of The Walking Dead, what is the one sneaker you want to be wearing on your feet? We will start with Tamika.
Oh wow, put me on the spot. Just
I have faith in you.
Dang. I'm gonna say the sock darts, the Nike sock darts, and the reason why, which doesn't even exist anymore. I hope they re-release those again. It's just so comfortable. It's like being a ninja almost. So, and you're light on your feet. You don't want to make too much noise. You don't want those walkers getting you. You don't have to tie anything, so you have to worry about tripping. So, I would definitely say the sock darts for sure. It's like one of my favorites.
We got sock darts. So, how about Irving? How about you? What's the one shoe?
Oh man, I guess you could go 2 ways. You could go like heavy duty, like boot style shoes. You know, you might could do some of those like Yeezy boots or something like that. Or maybe there's a specific dunk. It was the black. It was a collab with this bar called Black, and there's this sort of Doc Martin inspired dunk high made from this like wax threaded material. It would either be that or like the opposite, where it's like super lightweight and thin. And I guess like what are those? Like I have them. I just never know what they're called. They're like those ACG sandals, like the Nike sandals.
Yeah.
I have some of those, and I like wear those every time I go hiking and camping and swimming. And those make me feel like I'm like on my, you know, like I'm really on it. Feel like I can jump from log to log and dive, you know. So maybe that, but you don't want to expose any skin when there's zombies around. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why like the Nike Roche runs are my go-to convention shoe. Nice and light, kind of easy to go. But that mesh would put me, I feel like, in danger with those walkers. I'd probably have to go ACG myself. Chris and Jody, how about you guys? What is that go-to shoe that you're wearing in the world of The Walking Dead?
You want to go first?
No, you can go first.
Okay. Well, originally I was going to say I have these. They're pretty new to me. These New Balance 997H, just because they're so light and flexible and comfortable. And if I needed to, I could double knot the laces to make sure nothing like goes awry. But then what if I'm dealing with cold and water? And so I have, they're supposed to be snow boots. I believe the brand is Pahar. It's a Canadian brand, Pajar. But they're like fuzzy lined inside. They're totally waterproof. They're super flexible. So I kind of think maybe that should be my go-to. Like I could run, I could climb, I could go through water, and I'd be all good. So I think
Look
those will
those
be
up.
mine.
That's awesome.
My mind goes all over the place when you ask that, especially because it's full of damn zombies. I'm scared to tell about that. So like, I'm not trying to be around all that. But my first thought is either some Kobe's or some Jordan 12s. Some Kobe's because they're light and flexible. I can move around, kind of be nimble and quick if I need to. But the 12s are like the sneaker boot. Or like the original sneaker boot. So like, you know what I mean? You can even go way back, get some like Command Forces or something with the pump in them and everything, and protect your ankles and
If you're
all
left,
that
the
stuff.
pump's
So
gonna go out.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. So I'm flustered right now because you threw me in the world of zombies, and so I'm trying to stay out of that. But yeah, I'd probably go with the 12.
That's a tough question to answer.
It's
right?
a great question, though.
So
it's a
many
great question.
Yeah, you know, there's so many different elements to think about in that world. Do you want speed? Do you want flexibility? Do you want to be light on your feet? Do you want something that secures your feet? Do you want something material-wise that's going to hold up over time? Definitely a tough one. But we were lucky enough to ask some of the coolest influencers in the sneaker community this question. And that allows me to pivot to my next question, which is, as influencers in the sneaker community, what kind of responsibility do you feel to the community, and like what kind of changes would you like to be able to affect? And I'll start with you, Irving.
Responsibility for me, I guess, is and this sounds like sometimes I feel like it's not that serious kind of thing, but to me, it's like a small thing I can do. It's like, since I work at the skate shop, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I should skate these shoes and I should wear them around all scuffed up so that the world can see that there is still hope. There is somebody wearing these things and that they're not just selling them, you know? So it's rare. I think I've gotten like 3 or 4 dunks in the last 3 years. So like I run them to the ground. Like this is that Friday release, and they get destroyed.
Love it.
And
about to cry.
this is the you can't really tell, but this is that quarter snacks.
It actually makes it look better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I get a lot of customers that say that. They're like, "Man, will you do that with mine?" I'm like, "I wear a size 8, so probably not." So yeah, that's kind of like where I feel like, you know, it's like maybe it doesn't even matter, but to me, it's like that's one thing I can keep doing, and I think it can kind of be like, okay, at least this dude isn't just selling them, so that's good. And I'll just keep it there. That's simple enough. I think that's kind of where I feel like my responsibility lies.
Tamika, how about you?
I mean, representation. Just showing that us women are sneakerheads too. Us Black and Hispanic women are sneakerheads, and just showing the camaraderie of that and supporting one another and saying, "Hey, I got the latest kicks." I see the community growing. It's just like the same thing in gaming. I see it growing and people supporting one another. So just a representation and showing that we can style sneakers too, of course. Of course, we're in fashion a lot. So just having that representation there, I think, is important. So that's like the responsibility I would say I would uphold.
All right, Chris and Jody, how about you guys?
You can go first.
Okay. What I really like about how Chris has cultivated our channel is that it is not the hyped shoes, and we do the like retros and whatever the latest Jordan is that's about to release, and Chris gives off great facts and covers everything. But we also do like the lesser known brands, and he gives them the same amount of respect, going over all of the tech and how they feel and comfort wise, and he wears all of them. Like he he doesn't put certain brands on a pedestal, and so I really love that about what our channel brings to the community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the influencer thing is like weird for me because like I don't feel like I'm an influencer, especially because like nowadays it's kind of like got a negative thing attached. Like they're mostly like shills and just trying to get their affiliate money and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not really like that. Like we have a business partner that handles that stuff, but like he's really got to be on me to like do anything. Like he's like, yo, you need to do this. I'm just like, I don't really feel like doing that. So like it's really difficult for me to wrap my head around it, just because I'm still the kid with the $40 budget that is getting to pick out his pair on clearance. You know what I mean? So like, it's hard to take me out of that. So like, so I just really like shoes. The way that I talk about them is the way that I feel about them, and I'm not trying to influence or sway anyone. I'm just trying to show you my perspective, and that's pretty much all I can do. And if people like that or connect with me or someone else because of that, then that's just like a bonus. But yeah, that's pretty much all I could do, is just tell you what I remember, what I like about it, and hopefully people appreciate it. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. I think all of you are doing an amazing job kind of adding to the sneaker community and not taking away from it. And I want to thank each and every one of you, as well as Skybound, for having us on this excellent panel. I learned so much. I hope everybody that's in the live chat has been able to make all of these comparisons to the comic book community that I've been able to see as we've been kind of going along. Briefly, as we'll go around the horn, let everybody know where they can find you. We'll start with Irving.
Well, so I do all the website stuff and online for the skate shop here in Columbia, South Carolina. It's bluetilesc.com to check out all that stuff. BlueTileSC on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram as well and on YouTube. So my Instagram is Irv_ing, and the YouTube channel is Progress Daily, and we've done reviews of dunks on there, and you can see all the clips of me skating in the dunks on my personal Instagram. So yeah, check it out.
That's awesome. Jody and Chris, where can they find you guys at?
You can find me. I'm the video editor for our YouTube channel, Wear Testers. I keep all the rest of my stuff private, but I definitely pop in there. And so if you see anything from This Is Mrs. Wing, that's me. But otherwise, I'm just kind of in the background running those accounts.
Yeah, and you can pretty much find me at, Wear Testers, youtube.com/Wear Testers. I have Instagram. It's Nightwing2303. I'm not super active on it. Like, I'm on it, but I don't like post a lot, so you don't have to follow or anything like that. It's not important. But that's pretty much it. Or you can hit me up on Twitter. Same thing, Nightwing2303 if you have any questions, and that's usually where I respond to people. And otherwise, we post almost every day, so like you can catch me on the YouTube.
That's awesome. And Tamika, aka Red Infamy, where can they find you at?
Sure. Everything is Red Infamy across the board. Also geekgametight.com is TYTE. So yeah, you can catch me on those platforms. Also have a podcast with Afropunk as well. We do it every Wednesday, and also E for Life podcast on Sundays, where we try to incorporate gaming and financial literacy and esports. So definitely check me out on that.
That's awesome. Now, we also want to send a big shout out to Whatnot, the sponsor of today's panel. And again, download the Whatnot app today. There are $1 comic book auctions going daily. And as I mentioned, sneakers are now on the platform. So everything you could possibly want for your fandoms is right there on the Whatnot app. Download it today. Thank you so much. My name is Jack DeMayo. You can find me on Instagram at aka_Mr.Bolo, always letting you know what to be on the lookout for. Again, thank you to everybody who joined us today for our panel. And I hope everybody out there enjoys the rest of their Skybound Halloween Expo. There are some absolute banger of panels on the dais. I hope everybody enjoys and has a great time. Happy Halloween.